morning, audience. This is Leanne Cricket in Madison, Wisconsin. Channel 4 News bring you the horrific story of the murder of two residents of Dearborn, Earl Watson and Betty Garrett. The detail of the murder and death of the victim have not yet been released by the authorities, but our valuable reporter, Tracy Newman, is out asking around the neighborhood what had happened. She will be going to various parts of the community in search of answers that are not yet known to the public. Thank you for tuning in for our half-hour segment tonight on Dearborn Deaths.
Good morning, Wisconsin. Due to the somber events aforementioned, we are going to go to a crucial part of the community of Dearborn, the elementary school. It is here where Betty Garrett's husband, Joe Garrett, was brought in as a substitute for another teacher's maternity leave, and it's where the children of Earl Watson go to school. Hello, Principal Baker. I was wondering if you could disclose some information on the husband of Betty Garrett for the Channel 4 Madison News.
Well, ma'am, I can't really say all that much about that matter. State policy and all. But I can say that we hired him as a last resort, due to the fact that there aren't many substitute teachers in these parts. We needed him because one of the other teachers was on maternity leave, you see, and we couldn't leave those lovely kids without a teacher.
Principal Baker, when you say you hired Mr. Garrett as a quote-unquote last resort, what exactly do you mean?
Mr. Garrett was not a necessary piece of our faculty. Necessary evil the school had to hire because of the pregnancy. He was a good teacher, though, and the kids did receive better grades. A horrible thing that happened to him, though.
Indeed, it was horrible. How many kids did Mr. Garrett have in his class?
Well, that number changed a lot, but he always did have children in his classroom.
Sir, you didn't answer my question. I can assume, then, that a lot of children left his class?
Oh, Miss Anderson. Please come in. I would like you to meet someone. Please excuse me. I have some errands to attend to.
Yes, Principal, who is this?
It is, Tracy Newman from Channel 4 Madison News. Do you mind if I ask you some questions about the events here in Dearborn last week?
Oh, yes, I don't mind.
Who are you, if I may ask, a teacher at the school?
That is correct. I have been teaching here for a few years. I am relatively new.
Did you have any students who knew Earl Watson's children?
Well, not that I know of, really. There was one girl, Michelle Legault. Her grandfather and Earl Watson were good friends. Here's their address if you want to speak to them.
Thank you. So, did you ever get to know Mr. Garrett? Did you ever see his wife at teacher meetings?
No, Miss Newswoman. We never talked with him, never associated with him. In fact, he was always gone. He never really ate in the teacher's lounge. Instead, he ate in the dining hall with the students.
Wow, Mr. Garrett sounds really dedicated to his students. He must be a great man.
No, Miss Newswoman, he was not. He always seemed different and apart from everyone else here, and he knew that. That is why he didn't sit with us.
Well, what was he like in the classroom?
Well, Mr. Garrett was an addition to the faculty that was very, very much protested by the parents. The children often could not concentrate because of the commotion he caused since his arrival. He had parents constantly coming to his class, disrupting the learning atmosphere of the students and making the teachers here have a hard time teaching their own lessons. He is qualified because of his credentials, but not as a fellow teacher.
It does not seem that Mr. Garrett could ever be part of the faculty due to the difference between him and the community. Would you say that is simply because he is black?
This is not any sort of discrimination, but rather as a view of a teacher from another teacher. Now, Tracy, I have a class to teach, so I really think you should leave.
Thank you so much for your time. I hope that you and Mr. Baker have a good night. Now, back to you, Leanne.
For those of you just tuning in, reporter Tracy Newman just finished 2 interviews at the elementary school where Joe Garrett, husband of the late Betty Garrett, had taught. She interviewed Mr. Garrett's boss and co-worker, who seemed to have had a biased opinion of the teacher. Principal Baker seemed to have think that Mr. Garrett was as helpful as a teacher, like that of a leopard in a cocoon. Mrs. Anderson, a co-worker on the other hand, believes that Mr. Garrett was reserved to himself due to the prejudice he had experienced. Racism seethed under the layers of Dearhorn Midwestern charm, and perhaps that is why Mrs. Garrett was killed. Hopefully, at the second place Channel 4 goes to, it will be able to give us more of a detail than that of this right now.
Hello, everybody. I've just arrived at the LeBeau residence, where we will be talking to the best friend of Earl Watson.
Yes? Who is it? Can I help you?
Hi, are you Mrs. LeBeau? I'm Tracy Newman from Channel 4 Madison News. I was wondering if I could talk to your husband or granddaughter for a moment.
I am Mrs. LeBeau. Please come in and have a seat.
Thank you.
Would you like anything to drink?
Some iced tea would be very nice, thank you.
Charlie isn't here. May I ask what you're here to know about?
Just a few questions about the school and members of the community, Mrs. LeBeau. Nothing to worry about.
Well, I don't mean to come across as rude, but what brought you here exactly? And how do you know where we live?
Michelle's teacher told me your address. She said that this family was rather close to Earl.
We were. Yes, I guess you could say that.
How close are you to his wife?
Not very. I only knew Earl because of Charlie. We had Earl over a lot at our place. We never went to their house.
So, how much would you say you know about Earl's home life?
Nothing.
What about the children? Did you ever see them play around?
Well, no. They played away from our house.
Did your granddaughter ever play with Earl Watson's children?
I would not say that. Michelle always plays by herself.
Maybe I can speak to Michelle now.
Sure, let me go and get her. I'll holler her to come down. Michelle, please come in. There's someone who wants to talk to you. Well, if there's any trouble or anything I can offer you, I'll just be in the kitchen reading.
Thank you. Michelle, right? I'm a news reporter from Channel 4 Madison News. I was wondering how you're doing and if you can answer some of my questions.
Okay, I guess.
How well did you know Kevin?
Not much. Just at school.
Do you like that school?
Kinda.
How about Mr. Garrett? You saw him at school, right? Was he nice to the children? Did any of the kids tell you what he was
They were really...
Excuse me?
like?
No, I think that's enough for you, Mikey. You can go outside. My granddaughter's still pretty shook up about the whole experience. It's not every day that people in Dearhorn die. We're like family here. She's pretty upset by the death of Earl. He was around here a lot. I'm Charlie LeBeau, by the way. Now, who are you, young lady?
Oh, I'm Tracy Newman from the Channel 4 Madison News. Now, may I ask you a few questions?
Nice to meet you, Tracy. What questions might you have for me?
Well, how well did you know Earl Watson?
Oh, so that's what you came to talk about. Earl and I were friends.
Well, I am sorry about your loss. How did you guys know each other?
We were the men of the town. We're always helping out the community. If anyone needed anything, they would come to us.
Sounds honorable. Do you mind if I ask how he passed?
I do mind.
Well, so do you know how, who, or when?
That ain't none of your business.
Well, how close were you to Earl's wife and kids?
We knew each other well enough, I guess. Alice and I got along. I saw the kids every now and again, especially the older one.
How's their home life, and where are they moving? I would assume they're moving because of what happened His mom's name is Alice Watson, right?
Well, if you want to know about her, here's her address. She'll be moving out in 2 days. Now please, get out of my house.
This just in. Although Tracy had to immediately leave the LeBeau residence, she told us that she had found Michelle LeBeau sitting outside her property. Let's see if Michelle alone will shed some light on the situation.
Hey, Mikey. How you doing, sweetie?
Okay, I guess.
This looks like a pet grave.
That's because it is one.
Oh. My dog died last summer too. Her name was Lydia. What was your dog's name? How did your dog die?
His name was Brett. Earl killed him. He was my best friend.
I am so sorry, Michelle. Do you know why Earl killed him?
I can't tell you. Earl just shot him.
Why can't you tell me why Earl shot him? Who told you I couldn't ask?
I just can't tell you that either.
Don't you know the old saying, secrets are no fun, secrets are for everyone? Sweetie, you don't have to hide this.
You just don't get it. I can't tell you. I can't.
Mikey, is this lady bothering you?
No.
Sorry, sir. Have a nice day.
Please, leave.
We have just finished interviewing Michelle and Charlie LeBeau, family friends of Earl Watson, to see what can be said about the community's take on the murder of such a big piece of the community. Surprisingly enough, no one seemed to have noticed the change in the community due to the loss of the nurse, Mrs. Garrett. It was as if her death was not concerning to them at all. Everyone only noticed the loss of the gun shopkeeper. Also, it seemed like Michelle LeBeau, granddaughter of Charlie, knows a lot about the death of Earl Watson. Not only is it saddening, it is perplexing to see why such a young girl has to hide such a dangerous secret. Perhaps it is due to the fact that her grandfather might have had something to do with the death of Earl Watson. What do you think, audience? Now, the last place we're going to interview takes place at the Watson's residence. And we have Tracy there at the scene to get the story we want to hear. Who was he?
Hello, this is me, Tracy Newman, with Channel 4 Madison News, and I am here with the wife of Earl Watson, Alice Watson, and I had some questions about your husband, ma'am. Nice to meet you.
I really don't want to talk about Earl.
Mrs. Watson, are you glad that he has passed away before he decided to kill again?
How dare you? No, Earl was my husband. Earl was a good man, and I am not glad he's dead, and he did not kill that woman on purpose.
I mean, what do you think that caused that murder? I mean, there must
It
have been
wasn't
something.
murder. He was driven to commit that crime. That was not a murder by any means. And you shouldn't call it that. That murder is premeditated, and it's based on people who want to kill someone. And he was driven. It was self-defense. He was driven to commit that crime.
How can you defend a murder man of a woman pregnant with child when you're a mother yourself?
It has nothing to do with child. I'm not saying he was right killing her. I'm not saying that. I don't condone murder or killing or none of that. What I'm saying is that he was driven to commit this crime. I mean, these people, look at these people. They come in from out of town. They come into our town. They be taking over our schools. They going into the clinic where they don't belong. And then they come and they drag our family into all these issues. They make irrational claims against Earl and Kevin, and when you drag someone's boy into it, I mean, that's enough to drive any man crazy, don't you say? Earl had a perfect right to try to defend his family whichever way he could, and that is what he did. He defended his family against these people who decide they need to come in and screw up everything.
Yeah, is that him, Kevin?
Yeah. Kevin, get out of that cookie jar!
Oh, my, is that... What happened to his arm, man?
Oh, he's just a clumsy kid, you know? He's constantly falling and tripping and cutting himself, and I don't know what to do with it. I mean, it makes me sick, you know? I wish he was a little bit smarter, but that's just how he is. Kevin, don't touch that! I see ya!
Ma'am, correct me if I'm wrong, but those look like hand marks on his arms.
I mean, you know, stuff happens. Do you discipline your child, ma'am?
I mean, certainly not to that point, and not to bruising or anything close to that.
But when your child deserves a whooping, you give it to him, right? I mean, Earl does what his daddy taught him to do. That's how Earl disciplined Kevin, and Kevin was only the better for it. Kevin himself will tell you that he was the better for it. Because when a man disciplines his child, that boy grows up to be a good man. And that's what Earl learned from his daddy, and that's what he's teaching to Kevin.
But you don't consider this hurting him. You don't consider this beating hurting Kevin emotionally, developmentally at all.
Oh, none of that. None of that. No. I mean, sure, it give him a little sting when he get hit, but he deserves that. I mean, Earl never goes and breaks Kevin's arm or nothing like that. It's a clumsy kid. He falls all the time.
Okay,
He'll
so
come
he did
home
break
and
his arm.
Earl tell me, oh, he fell and he broke his arm. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that it don't hurt him when he gets a whooping, but, you know, that's what happens. That's how it is. He deserves it.
So, he deserves it, but the arm thing, that wasn't your husband at all.
No, I said it like 3 times.
Oh, okay. So, I'm confused, man. While you're saying that your husband never beat your son, you're saying that your son was also beaten into shape? Would that be the right way of saying it?
I wouldn't say he was beaten into shape, but yeah, if you want to put it that way, any man would discipline his boy. We talked about this. Any man would discipline his boy.
True. Maybe I should move it to a different subject. So I was just over at the LeBeau residence talking to Charlie and Michelle, and Michelle seemed quite troubled. She seemed almost as if she was there. She couldn't tell me a lot of things, and it seems like Charlie might have been involved as well with this. Could you...
Well, from what I hear, they were both there, but, I mean, you know, that's another thing. Charlie, he's a good man and all, and he's lived in this community his whole life, but as soon as that granddaughter of his come in, I mean, he's not defending his friends anymore, his family, his township, the people that he's lived with his entire life, and then he brings in his granddaughter, which, I mean, granted, his boy was a piece of work, which, you know, he might have stood for a little more discipline when he was growing up, but that's besides the point. This granddaughter, she colored too, you know, and they let all the colored people look at her and think, oh, we can come in here. No, we're a tight-knit community here. He didn't need to be bringing her in either.
Huh. Alright, so you're saying to me that, more or less, bringing them into the community was actually detrimental. And in fact, normally nowadays, man, we have so many people coming from all over the world. It's a great thing to have diversity. Are you saying...
Sure, that's what they say, but these people come in. Look what they do when they come in. They come in and do nothing but stir up trouble. If they could keep quiet, keep to themselves, keep on the outskirts of town, I mean, maybe I wouldn't have a problem with it. But they come in here, they in our school and our clinic, messing with our children.
You don't think that you need the extra help in the clinic? I mean, when I was driving through town, ma'am, I saw trailers of children that looked very, very sick.
We got people in the clinic. We could take care of our own. We've always taken care of our own. That's what this town does. We take care of our own, and we don't need people from the outside coming in. Now, maybe Charlie's granddaughter is an exception. I don't know. But these other people, they need to not be coming in.
And what do you think Charlie's role in Earl's life was, especially towards the end?
I mean, they were like brothers, but then Charlie, he got cold feet or something because he decided not to defend his brother no more. I mean, these people go on making accusations about Earl. Charlie should have done something about it right away. Charlie should have got those people kicked out of town. I mean, he always wanted to talk. He never wanted to do nothing. Earl was the one who went and did something. We needed someone like that. And Charlie, he just couldn't do it.
When you say accused, what was your husband accused of that Charlie was not defending him about?
I mean, he was accused of hitting my boy, which, you know, I told you before. Earl never abused or hurt Kevin. And yet this guy comes in, don't know nothing about me or my family, and accuses Earl of hitting my boy.
Oh.
I mean, that's just ridiculous, wouldn't you say? If someone come into your family and accuse you of hurting your child, you got a right to defend yourself and your family. That is a right, a basic right we have here.
True, and how did Earl take this?
Well, of course Earl doesn't like it. Earl tried to do something. He tried to go about it peaceably. He tried to get the people together. He tried to get all the folks in to the schools to sit in and to scare those folks out, but they just ain't getting the message. They don't want to leave.
Where do you think these people who not per se fit into the community deserve to go?
I mean, they can go where they're tolerated. They can go to the big cities. They like those kinds of people there.
Yeah.
I mean, just a tight-knit community like Deerhorn, we don't need none of those people coming in and riling up trouble. They just need to go somewhere where they can keep quiet and keep to themselves and keep out of our way.
Do you think that the Garretts deserved what they got?
You know, I think they did. They asked for it.
They asked for it. And what did Charlie have to think about that?
You know, I don't know. Charlie's been quiet ever since it happened. Charlie ain't said nothing to me. He ain't even come over here to say goodbye. He ain't come over here to check on Kevin. He just sits by himself and doesn't talk to no one. He just talks to that granddaughter of his. And, you know, I'm sure it's hard on him too, but I don't know. I mean, when a family's in mourning, you usually help your family. And Charlie doesn't seem to be doing that, so I don't even know.
Well, ma'am, I'm very sorry for your loss, and I hope that you and your son are able to recover completely, and I hope you have a nice day, and I'll leave you to keep on moving on out of this community. One last question. It seems like you were very much part of this community. Why did you decide to leave?
I mean, it's been tainted. I can't stay here anymore. I'm afraid for my life. I'm afraid for Kevin. I mean, look at Earl. He done got himself killed. I don't know what's going on in this community anymore. These people come in, they wreck our community, and I can't be a part of it no more. I got to get out of here. I mean, without Earl, I just miss him. I mean, there's like a hole. I can't be here no more.
Well, thank you, ma'am, and hope you have a nice day. And
Sure.
I will leave you be.
Yeah.
Wow! A huge thank you to Tracy Newman. Here at Channel 4 Madison News, we are dedicated to getting you only the best, most direct information possible. And tonight, we show a new point of view on a murder, a personal one. A heated interview filled with passion, sadness, racism, and more. We learned that Earl was not the plastic shopkeeper everyone thought he was. He was a man who, to the eye of a careful observer, beat his children and was as strongly racist as his wife. A family betrayed by the Garretts, as it was them who first exposed the child abuse against Kevin Watts. Earl had a very strong motive to kill Betty Garrett, and as Alice Watson pointed out, it drove him to insanity. The mystery in Deerhorn has clear, folks. The police report was just released. The report showed that Mr. Watson did in fact kill Betty Garrett, and that Mr. Watson was shot, most likely a suicide. And on that somber note, we thank you for following the best news in Wisconsin Channel 4. Have a nice weekend, everybody, and make sure to tune in at 8 tonight to listen to another tragic family story in Chicago. Was it group suicide or well-planned murder? Next on Channel 4 News.
Yeah, when you're ready. Let's
Yeah.
go. We can
Wait,
cut.
start it again.
Really?
I want to do it in one take. So
Well, I mean,
For those of you just tuning in,
hey. Hello, Miss. Oh wait, can we redo it because I don't know.
Eddie! Oh, I mean, Mrs. Anderson. Mr.
Is.
Oh my
Oh wait, sorry.